Oops. Hello, everybody, and welcome. A couple of things. Apologies for that last stream. It was a little short-lived. My mind was elsewhere, actually, because I got invited to a screening interview for an artificial intelligence software position tomorrow, and I was just thinking about that. Having that said that, I am still working on the playground. That hasn't gone anywhere. I've got Java, I've got C++. They're both really close, at least to something that I can throw up throw up. I can publish a draft of sorts. However, since since I'll be interviewing for artificial intelligence tomorrow, I figured I'd go ahead and do similar to the QA stream that I did about a week or two ago. Basically, how to prepare for an interview in a different subfield that you might not be immediately familiar with. What would you study? What would you prep with? What would you do? And again, I'm using the code and game thing because this is software and it's also very relevant to code and game. So not only do people work on the tutorial here, the whole basis of code and game is artificial intelligence, one of the types. You're thinking about think about computer players in video games or puzzles. Like all of these puzzles, literally every one of them is a basic AI concept. Like you're training, or like the bots especially, but even well, okay, so I guess I shouldn't say all of them, but definitely the bot programming. But a lot of these things are concepts that you could give a computer program and have them imitate a human and do artificial intelligence. However, we're not going to be doing a lot on coding game here. Here we're going back to OSCS, my personal project, to the artificial intelligence page, where I've already been kind of outlining. Let's see, it's got a long ways to go. It needs a lot of work, but originally, I was talking about my background, which isn't all that much. I started reading this book that was all calculus, and I got confused very quickly and gave up reading it. But I mean, it was interesting. There were some concepts in there that made sense. But as far as someone just getting into this, like say you have a background in computer science and you want to get into AI, definitely the things on coding game, all the puzzles, everything like that. Clashes are always good. But if you're specifically looking for an AI job, like I'll be trying to do tomorrow, I would suggest Allie K. Miller, who's actually the head of artificial intelligence for Amazon Web Services or something like that. She's hired there. She's an influencer. She does a lot of videos, and already I took a 3 minute and 50-second video of hers for natural language processing, took notes, which took closer to like 10, 15 minutes of like pausing, stopping, playing, and all that, and then really analyzing it. And now I'll drag it out into an hour-long stream. So, well, maybe not that long, maybe just like half an hour to an hour. But basically, so let's see. I should also mention I'm doing notes on another video of hers to get a more generalized idea. So let's actually go ahead and do this. And while I do this, I wanted to document the process, just kind of see how you would go about doing something like preparing for an interview like that. So first we have this video here, which it's in natural language processing. So I've watched it a couple of times. I was going back and looking at something. But more importantly, we've got this here, which is her intro to machine learning and all that. And actually what the sections are, like what you would divide. So I'm trying to think of where I want to put that. Like, 'cause I have, first thing, mention a professional is that. I've also do that with, oh, I forget her name. I think it's Alex Wang for data science, but, and then there's my colleague Vic Brown for QA. I try to list a professional in the field, something like that. Uh-oh. Sorry, I still have my phone on vibrate. Let's turn this off. Okay, anyways. So, artificial intelligence. I guess I should start at the very basics. Um, you know, those, I do have notes on here. Let me pull those up and put this down. That's right, I wanted to. So, there's my description. Before we get into NLP, that's probably a good place to, right here. Um, have a link to her machine learning video. We would call that in a nutshell. I don't know. For now. And then okay, so we make that a link. And of course we get some light web development in along with it. So here, paste it in there, jump to the end, complete the tag. There you go. So, and then we could even do like a description. Let's do a paragraph. Well, because what she calls this intro to machine learning in part one, like there's a couple of videos in this series. So, okay, I'll just put for, I don't know, for brief overview of AI, ML, and DL. Check out. I also want to be careful saying that too much. So, okay, there we go. And then period, or there you go. That, and then if you look at it. So we've got our channel at the beginning, and then the brief overview. I mean, that might be a little redundant, but like basically I'm taking notes over it. And so those notes that I have here, let's see. So I'll make sure, there we go. And then there. And then within these notes, I guess I'll go back and reformat it. That's what I was doing before to get ready for this stream, was formatting, this section. You've got NPL or NLP, but even before going into that, there's other things that you should know or that should be talked about right first. So I want to make sure I'm not doing it backwards. So yeah, why am I looking at that? Okay, so artificial intelligence. The way that so that you could think of the tic-tac-toe game that I have later on here, or that windward competition that I did back at CSU that was just trying to imitate human actions in a game. Like there wasn't any machine learning or deep learning tied to it. It was just the computer was imitating a human. Like, so you could have a CPU player, or like, or even an NPC, or something like that. So it's really big in gaming logic, as well as a lot of the things that you do on coding game. That's all making a CPU or a bot, or they've got so many different ways you can go about doing that. So that's the very basis. That's AI, and then a lot of people think killer robots, and it's actually kind of funny. I was looking for a specific comic that I'd seen before about a programming flaw that led to robots essentially killing humans and taking over. It was, if you look at the code, it did a single equal sign instead of a double equals, so it actually set the robot mode to kill mode or evil mode or whatever it was. I couldn't find it. Instead, I found like a Dilbert comic and some other stuff, so I don't think I can actually show that on stream. So to avoid any copyright issues, we're just going to not do that. However, I don't feel bad blasting Allie's videos all over this, because this is what she does. She, she practices teaching these concepts, and it's very entertaining, very informative, great source. So, anyways, yeah, back to it. We've got AI, the basics. Machine learning, that's when you start doing, so it's a subset of AI, and this is where the computer is learning. So based on information or data that you feed it, the computer is remembering or recording attributes of the data, I should say. So, the thing about it, just the computer is learning. So it's taking in data, and then it's processing it, and then it's acting accordingly. Now, deep learning is even a further subset of machine learning, which is a subset of AI. And of course, in Allie's video, she's got a very nice picture where it's like deep learning, machine learning, and then AI is the whole encompassing thing. So, And that's where the computer is learning in a specific way. So first, you've got the computer is thinking, you know, thinking as rudimentary as it might be, and then you've got machine learning. Oh, now the computer is learning, the computer is remembering, the computer is retaining, the computer is recording information drawn from data or sets of data. And then you go even further. Okay, so not only is the computer learning, it's learning the way that we want it to, or we're directing it what to pay attention to, rather than just a general, like, buckshot, like, pay attention to everything, I guess, would be. Anyways, and then she goes on to talk about supervised learning versus unsupervised learning. And she's, all about think labels. So with supervised, you're telling the computer what to look for. Her example is labeling customer emails. Either they're happy or positive, or they're negative, or they're angry. And then you feed it. And again, her interview, she mentions that the numbers don't matter. It's better with a bigger data set. That way you can be more accurate. Or, I mean, that's just basic statistics. Whenever you're doing a study, you want, a larger data set generally means, not always, but generally means better results, better information drawn from the data. So she used the example of 1,000 good, 1,000 bad, and that the developer would go through and label each of the good emails as such and the bad emails as such, and then the computer would read through all that and start paying attention to, let's see, I think, oh, whoops, I'm trying not to, okay, so, sorry, that was in the thing. Attributes that the computer might be paying attention to are maybe the length of the email, capitalized letters, stuff like that. Just anything that could be represented in the data or could be noticeable in the data and then recorded, and then responses calculated accordingly. So what I have down here, this is why, reasons you would want to do something like this. So if we, oh geez. So the reason I have this, you might want a quicker response for angry emails, which is true. I mean, and I have worked in a help desk, and that's why I had this here. Think of one of my previous employers and the importance of IT tickets. We actually categorized several different categories of IT tickets for that very reason. If it was an emergency where it was actually stopping production and costing the company money, we had those highlighted in red. It was this very big, ugly, and scary, like, oh no, we gotta make sure. Sorry. So we would pay attention to that and be like, okay, this is an issue that we need to address first before any of the other IT tickets, and that's what the reasoning behind that. Whereas if you're just trying to teach a computer how to respond or how to react to a customer's response, a positive feedback, you get a little leeway time. There might be a little more of a grace period, where you can take your time to respond. So it would go into this other category. Whereas, and think about all these emails hitting like this message center or shared email box, and the employees have to respond to these emails. They want to categorize them. So if someone is upset, they're going to want a quicker response to know that their issue is actually being addressed. It speaks volumes as far as customer service, and might actually avoid some negative or negativity down the road. So this is a desired response from a computer that you would want. So you'd want those filtered. First off, filter all negative emails to the negative bin or area, and then further you could filter, like, okay, well, how negative, how angry, is someone like really on the edge and they really need, you could even make it more granular than that, or you could just keep it broad, negative, positive, then act accordingly. I mean, a lot of that goes down to judgment calls, and that was similar with the help desk job that I was doing. Was we would take, some people would still falsely categorize things as emergencies, and of course we'd have to call them up as per protocol and be like, hey, is this an emergency, is production stopped, or they'd be like, oh no, I forgot my password. And so stuff to encounter. And that's actually as far as my note taking goes for that video. I guess my problem is, by the time I finally get ready for a stream, it'll be 5-6 hours later, and then I'll forget what I was even going to talk about. So I wanted to make sure that I got this out, because the rest of my day is going to be researching how you would develop software for AI. So I'll be looking at some other videos, stuff like that. But I do have quite an extensive amount of notes for the language processing, and this was something. Um, One of the fields that I've always wanted to get into is accessibility for specifically handy-capable people, people with disabilities, and making technology more accommodating, convenient for them. So it's just something I've always been interested in, and this kind of falls into it. In fact, I've posted a video on the LinkedIn's the other day. And it was about closed captioning that actually followed someone around. There was some software that they were working on that was pretty accurate. As the guy was talking, it was changing and he was moving around the area, moving around the room, and it was following. However, this kind of pertains more to a little experiment that I was doing, and that's why I have these tabs up. So recently I translated my homepage into Arabic, and I have some colleagues looking over it and making sure that it actually makes sense. And they're going to give me feedback of corrections. And then I was thinking about, trying to send that off to Google because I used Google Translate for all this, just to see how close to the mark that they were in their translation. So there's some more data that, might potentially help in there. I mean, for all I know, it could be flawless, and, you know, the only problem would be when I had to cut it in half because of the direction that the language goes. It goes backwards from what I'm used to. So it goes from right to left. And then, so when I was copy and pasting, if it was too large for Google Translate, I had to cut it into pieces. And so there could be errors like this half was stuck in a weird way, so it just might seem out of order. So, and then more recently, I've been translating into Spanish, which I actually speak some. So, I speak conversational Spanish, not great, but at least I can kind of gloss it over. I do also have colleagues that do speak Spanish as their main language that are going to look this over. And something I should say on that note is even breaking that down, and this is relevant to the whole language processing concept. There are different types of each language, different slang. Let's see, and actually I talk about that. Let's see. Actually, we could just get into that, but just something to be aware of when you're doing language processing, which is kind of like what this is all related to. This is what Google Translate says. So this is probably the more formal version. Like even if I'm just reading through it, yeah. I don't know. Usually when I read things in Spanish, it's like there's a lot of words that I just don't know because my language skills are about that of like a kid. So, if they use like complex words that I'm not familiar with, it's you feel bad because you're like, oh yeah, I can speak Spanish. Then you read like a label on a bus or a label on just a food or something, anything that's translated, and you start thinking, I don't know what any of this says. But, anyways, we don't speak like the way that food labels and bus labels speak. We speak in a slang, more comfortable. So this is actually probably closer because, I follow more a comfortable dialect in my web materials rather than, university English or anything like that. Because I feel like it's easier to learn that way when you have someone talking to you what is considered normal to you. So, anyways, I digress. I just bring that up because I even know specifically with Spanish, Costa Rican Spanish, which I visited for a school trip, is much different than Mexican Spanish or El Salvadorian Spanish. Or, then you've got countries like Brazil that don't even speak Spanish. They speak, you falo un poco de português. So they speak Portuguese. But, anyways, I digress. That was just kind of interesting, and I'm about like a third or a fourth of the way through translating this. Let's see. And literally, I'm just plugging it into Google Translate and then copy and pasting it back and forth, trying to expand this. Yeah, and see now we're back into the Arabic. I'm erasing that. And funny story, Arabic and Spanish are very similar as well. They don't look similar, but I learned quickly that a lot of Spanish words sound very similar to their Arabic counterpart. So like sukar and azúcar, sugar, the diabetes disease, is interesting things, but I digress. So as far as natural language processing, all right, well, let's start from the basics. So there's really few different reasons why you would be doing this. We're talking manipulation, understanding, and generation. So Think you've got to have an input of some kind of language, and if you're trying to process it, whether you're trying to translate it or you're just trying to process it for paying attention to what the language is actually referring to, what's the content, what's the meaning of the words in the language, and then so there's manipulation, getting it into, or well, right here, converting different forms of media into structured, usable data. So, in some examples that Ali uses are like a doctor's note, all the way up to paragraphs and tweets. Really, all of these different sources of data need to be changed, or at least interpreted, into a way that the machine can use, that the way the machine can do. And it's very similar to making assembly code with programming. You're taking something like Python or Java or C++, something that's semi-human language or semi-human speak that you can kind of understand what's supposed to be going on, and then translating it into all the ones and zeros that do the assembly code language and all the stuff that we absolutely have no idea what's going on unless you're an expert in that sort of thing. To us, it just looks like a bunch of ones and zeros. There's the basic instructions for the computer on a binary level. You know, Anyways, that's data that a computer needs. Now, as far as this, it's meaning more, okay, maybe strip the formatting of the tweet off, or especially with a doctor's note. Now, can you read that chicken scratch? Basically like, or even cursive, like on my shirt. Can you process cursive in linguistics? So, a lot of today's youth can't even do that, which is kind of scary. But, stuff like that. So if you were, and the reason for that would be, is say you're trying to process some older stuff where everybody used to write in cursive, the Declaration of Independence, all that stuff, all the historical, those documents, was all cursive. Not only that, the S's looked like F's or T's, and so that was generally confusing. But, and as language changes, how far, or I guess it comes down to a point of how much do you want the computer to accommodate? Are we going to be getting doctor's notes in cursive, or are we going to be getting it in Swahili, or Arabic, Spanish? Where's the end really? But for these concepts, we're just talking. Okay, we got a paragraph here, we got a tweet here. Let's strip off the extra stuff on the tweet that says it's a tweet to where it's just the actual message, and then something that we can store in the computer program or work with. And then a doctor's note, okay, we don't need the header, the doctor's name, all that, or at least, for the message part, if we're just trying to get the message, then convert it into actual letters that the computer can understand and work with as well. So let's see. And then we've got named entity recognition. So and when she was talking about this refers more to when you're doing like an autofill for a form. You might have noticed this technology coming out more recently when you're doing an autofill for a form, or this is where the computer can recognize like a phone number or a city, or maybe they see a zip code and recognize it and do something accordingly with that, like maybe suggest, I don't know, some kind of behavior or formatting, like if it's a phone number, maybe suggest throwing in the dashes and the parentheses to where, and in fact, I've even done a few challenges on Code Wars, and I think there's stuff in the clashes. I feel like I've done one clash on Coding Game where you actually have to do that. You get like 10 digits or 9 digits or whatever, and then you have to format it by putting in the dashes. So that's where that is. So that's like predicting what data is supposed to mean, or what label a data could have. And then let's see, part of speech tagging. So this, she talks about, think back to when you're first learning a language. You learn the nouns, the verbs, the adverbs, adjectives, then you tag them as such. So that's labeling, yeah, verbs as verbs, nouns as nouns, and all that good stuff. So part of being able to use the data, you have to classify it as something. So maybe if you go back to the example of angry emails versus positive emails, you might use certain words, like certain bad words, and throw those in. So you'll automatically know if these words are detected, it's probably a negative email. Probably. Americans are weird. We get a little excited with our result, or our reviews sometimes. We might use some swear words, but overall, like that could put a weight to it. And for every one of these words encountered, or say you're talking about puppies or trains or literally anything, you find the nouns and then throw that in the nouns category, and then you separate all the verbs, and put those in. because that could potentially be used down the road for a lot of different things, like classifying, or well, something else we talk about, generating. You know, if we're gonna write a response or something, she even mentioned something where you could actually, oh, where is that? We're there. It's like they can write, yeah, the generizing. So, anyways, we'll get to that very briefly. But mm. So tagging, that's just an important thing. You need to be able to tag verbs, nouns, stuff like that. Then you get lemmatization, and that's referring to, okay, so if you get a word, and this is one of the biggest things I struggle with in Spanish, is what tense, what version of the word are you looking for? So the example would be, from run, we get ran. So when the computer is encountering this word, like it encounters, oh, here's ran. Well, wait, that really means run. So anything that we have that applies to however often we see the word run, let's also apply it to ran. Think almost like synonyms, but you're really more referring to the tense or the usage of the word. So where it needs to be. So you've got that. And then again, this is more into like massaging the data or converting the information to a usable form. So, maybe we don't have a counter for ran, but we have a counter for run. That's important to our algorithms. Maybe we also need to accommodate ran as well. And then, or maybe even just take every word and just have it attached to that word. So look for run, but if you also see ran, will run, or, well, I guess maybe run's a bad one. Running. Yeah, ran, running, run. Anyways, and just maybe store all the associated tenses of that word that would affect your algorithm accordingly. And then, let's see, we've got natural language understanding, which is a component of NLP. She stresses that this is NLU is NLP. So we've got language processing, natural language processing, and then a subset is natural language understanding. So in this, we're talking to, yeah, so we've got sentiment analysis. We're going through all those emails, and then based on an algorithm, we can generally tell which ones are positive and which ones are negative, or at least get it to a point where the more obvious ones are positive and the more obvious ones are negative, and then we could even have like a gray area where the computer, based on current algorithms and current information, doesn't quite know which one to classify this as. So maybe a human user will need to take a look and make a final decision on where that should go. So, I mean, ideally, your algorithms should be efficient enough to where you cut down on that third category and make it as small as you can. But then you also want to be careful. You don't want to get too over analyzing and then start doing what's known as false positives. So you put a good email in the bad because you're looking too specifically for something, and this person's language patterns or the way that they talk just happens to trigger, oh, wait, no, this is a negative one when really it was a good one. So, something to kind of be aware of. Or relating to coding, this would be like your corner cases. What would you have to do defensive programming against to prevent this? And that would be adjusting um, how much you, how many qualifiers, quantifiers, how many different ways are you classifying this incoming like chunk of data, this email. So, and then this part I thought was really cool. And actually, I have a note here because I was actually thinking about a project like this back in my university days. So we've got relation extraction. So out of a 50-page document, you're able to zero in or drill down on a specific part where, in her example, it was someone owes this person this much money or something. Think of like um, real estate documents and all that. If anybody's, if you've got any experience with that, you're going through and looking at all these different places where they flagged, sign here, sign here, sign here. Well, part of being able to analyze a language would be this. So you can focus in on a specific part. And I thought this was really a neat idea for political analysis because, especially in America, we've got politics are so taboo, and for a reason, because there's so much that is said. It's so hard to keep track of what's real. There's all this fluff in every speech, just about every speech in America. But, so I was thinking of an idea. Okay, well, let's analyze these and pull out the specific points. So something to think about. That would be a good open source project for someone. And then we have semantic parsing. So let's see, what was this one? Translating slang. Okay, so this is like, yeah, I mentioned Costa Rican Spanish is different from Mexican Spanish. So when I was down in Costa Rica, we would say things like tuanis, chuso, pura vida, which they make sense. They mean something in Spanish. Pure life, sweet. I think tuanis and chuso are both sweet. Like cool, nifty. We've got like 50 different words for positive things. So that would fall under the category of semantic parsing. You're trying to get what is comfortably said from a human to a format that is understandable by the machine. So this would be like mapping labels to think of Tuanis and Chuzo. Like if I wanted to say the English equivalent, and depending in which state in America, or even England, there's a whole different words that mean similar things. So you could substitute the words for something, or at least get your closest guess. And at the end of the day, that's what translating is. So, um, but yeah, just something to be aware of. You would maybe need to store some of this for, yeah, like all the good words, especially if you're looking for positive emails versus negative emails. Maybe you want to know what tuanis and chuzo mean. Even if you speak Spanish, you might not know that these other words are also sometimes used in a positive way, or a beneficial, or a good email. So, or sorry, not good or bad. I mean, they're both requiring attention in the workplace. They're response emails, and you need to act accordingly. However, I mean good as in like a positive versus the bad. Anyways, and then we get down to natural language generation. So, computer writing a brand new text. Now, when I heard this, I automatically thought about some of those things I've seen where a computer will write a poem, or a computer will write a screenplay, or something like that. And there's been some really interesting ones that people have come up with as far as AI, little projects. But basically, this is well, there's a few different ways. Let's see. So she even split it down to these three main things. So this first example, you're summarizing a news article. So this is still generation, like the computer is generating the summary based on the entire news article, or giving its best guess. Like from this article, I'm going to say it probably means this. And then you could maybe even throw in an accuracy percentage. I feel this, or a competency rating, if you really wanted to get fancy with it. But really, you're just getting a summary from an article, so you don't have to read the whole article. Here's what they think. And that could also be useful to categorize that article. Be like, well, if somebody likes this type of article, maybe they would like this type of article, or, suggestive. The uses for this are insane, very vast. But anyways, and then we got email support. Yeah, this is the one that I was thinking. So based on a few ideas or a couple of points, it could generate a full email. Like that seems crazy to me, because as having worked with a couple jobs now where you had to email a lot of important stuff back and forth to your coworkers, it would be so nice to just type a couple of, thoughts, and then it makes an email that sounds, it just seems a little far-fetched to me though. I mean, it would almost be like you could tell it was generated, and then it wouldn't be as sincere. I don't know. Or would it need to be sincere? I don't know. If you work with a lot of software developers, they'll send little like 1 or 2 word things, or even IT, like, they'll just send a couple of words and call it good. Like, so, anyways, I thought that was really cool. So, and then we have augmented creative writing. So this is where I was talking about the computer writes a poem, or, then you start to get into things like Chappie. So if you haven't seen that movie, that's where AI goes way left, way quick. But I digress. So given a brand description, or no. Specifically this is brand description gives you 100 ads. Okay, so this was the example. I thought that was really nifty and very useful, in a business sense. I don't want to keep making all these ads, and I can relate, in web development, that's a lot of web development, is remaking. Well, even this, I had to remake the Arabic page, and now I had to go and remake the Spanish page, and kind of start from scratch, try to copy and paste as much as you can, but ultimately, you're going to have some headache. Whereas here, if you can just have like an advertisement generator, where okay, well, I want to sell shoes that have these features. You know, maybe you need to have feature ABC and then a short description and then a picture. And then based on that data, you could have an AI that generates, hey, look at these. Or think Mad Libs, really. That's actually, yeah, put that in there, Mad Libs. You know, for anyone who's played Mad Libs, they have a template or a structure. Whoa, what's going on? Hey, what's up? There's libraries to translate your website. I was curious about that, like to see if a browser could actually just translate it, and if any of this was, if there was a point to all of it. I mean, either way, being able to demonstrate to show Arabic, I thought was also just pretty cool because of the different the char set you need to use, which is where did I? Or maybe you don't even need to use it because I don't think I have it. I think I accidentally waxed it. Well, never mind. But yeah, if it is all redundant, then you know it might just be doing the thing. But I don't know. So I might stop after the Spanish one if that was a thing. Let's see. And then let's see. So Mad Lib's the template. Yeah. So what's up? So the hosting thing. I actually used to have several websites hosted at CSU. Um, and that was backed by the security of Colorado State University. And then I did some web hosting on a personal computer and quickly got added to probably some botnets, got hacked into. Once you do some local development, you open yourself up to a bunch of cyber attacks. Now, using free hosting somewhere, this is my favorite version of free hosting just because you have all of these options. You can edit your CSS, your HTML, and your JavaScript just all kind of in the same place. I mean, it sucks because, or it's not the greatest because you don't get to get too involved in it. You can't have oh, GitHub pages. Yeah, I've seen some interesting GitHub things, so that might be my next step. In fact, let me write a note of that because that Python cheat sheet has a GitHub page view. I guess to answer your question is, let's see. Yeah, I haven't used it because I haven't been familiar with it, but I'll make a note of that. Let's see. Yeah, at this point, it's pretty much just trying to get stuff out. That would be useful. Like this video I'm doing, I'm probably gonna cut it soon, but I was just basically going over AI prep for an interview that I have tomorrow, and I've done a QA one, and then I kind of reflect that on. I mean, eventually, yeah, I can move it to GitHub. That's how I'm doing all those playgrounds. But if we go to like this way, that would to have like a written kind of explanation of it. We've got the QA stuff. Though granted, I need to go back and clean it up. It looks. Oh man, am I gonna crash the? Yeah. So basically notes, and I need to clean that up. But yeah. Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, I actually one of my family friends and colleagues down in Denver, he's hiring a few people for QA, and definitely like something I wouldn't mind getting into. Um, but I don't want to move to the city, so that's why I'm trying to work from home. But I mean, if this works out tomorrow, that would be pretty cool. Of course, it might be the first of many interviews. I think this is just a screening one, so. Um, but yeah, we'll see. And actually, looking at these notes, I might have to go back and watch the video again. Her video was, just under 4 minutes, but she said this is the bonus round. So if you're getting into language processing, um, let's see the rules or the order of the text. Let me check. I have. Did I write anything more specific with that? So yeah, before I actually go too far on this, I'm going to need the meaning of the text and the goals of the text. So yeah, I'll go back and watch the video again for that part. But yes, actually, I do have they're not published yet. I'm working on binary search tree logic for, well, Python. I've written programs about them in Java, and then I'm going to be basically recreating all of that. In fact, let me go ahead and pull up. I've got my other playgrounds up that, like, this is where Java's at. I've got the stubs for everything, and I'm starting to fill everything in. But I am going to be adding, so yeah, data structures is just, yeah, data structures. But eventually I want to add that. You're right. And then recursion, I actually have recursion featured on all of them. Let's see, this is my, is this Python? No, this is C++. This is Python. Yeah, recursion, oh, never mind. I guess I did space it out. I have it, it's hard because usually I put recursion lumped in with loops and just kind of explain, like, compare and contrast them. But I was going to do sorting algorithms to show you could do it with recursion. And then, but yeah, and then like I have a specific goal or example that I'm making doing quicksort using, that's not with a binary tree. Yeah, those are a lot more advanced. And I did have it saying like, BSTs and graphs at the bottom of here, but then I took it out. Or I guess that was in data structures. And I had it down here, like, remind myself to go back and add it. And then I just did this the other day, the lists of lists. So eventually, yeah. Well, and I've also found that some of the challenges on Code Wars, and maybe even Coding Game too, you have to use recursion. Otherwise, your algorithm times out. Like it's part of an optimization thing. So, which I still don't understand because if you think about it, making a call to itself, in the very basic sense, it doesn't. I don't understand why calling something, calling itself doing recursion is more efficient than having a loop that just does it that many times. I don't know. I think I was trying to do prime numbers or something like that. But eventually I had to use recursion. Or no, it was a triangles puzzle based on red, green, blue, or no, red, blue, yellow. And based on those three colors, you would figure out if you had the two, you found out the odd one out, and then that was the one down low. And I was able to do that with a loop structure for, so big of a triangle, break it down to its very base case of like the one color that was the odd one out of all of the ones above it. And it ended up having to have recursion. So it was pretty interesting. But definitely what I'm going to be adding into these playgrounds for sure. And didn't you say you're really good with the C++? I think you were saying that the other day. Where's that at? This Java. Yeah. My C++ is very lacking. Mostly because a lot of, yeah, the stack and heap. Yeah, big O notation is something that's going to be coming up soon as well. I wanted to. So I'm slowly going to be sneaking in concepts to all three of these playgrounds, like, get people to do the beginner concepts, and then next thing you know, they're looking at more advanced algorithms, data structures, big O, sorting. Yeah, yeah. A log n versus, big O of n or all that. In fact, I'm thinking back of a binary search tree that I basically just copied off the internet for one of my school projects. It was okay to copy that part. I mean, it wasn't okay, but but yeah, the idea of binary search and then start in the middle and then you get smaller and smaller, and then you got best case, worst case, all that stuff. Kind of like give that example. But yeah, sorting algorithms. That's what I was thinking. Like that's the best way to show someone who's trying to learn the language to be like, okay, I have an array, so already you're looking at basic data structures. Then how do I access the elements in the array? manipulate them and, compare and contrast that between the different languages. Because, I constantly see things like, I think in Python, a string is immutable or something. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. If you have a well organized tree, and that's also making assumptions that it is in the proper, like it's in sorted order, and if those conditions are true, then yeah, you search here, is it left or right? Search a smaller subset. Then here, is it left or right? Yeah, really cool algorithm. I understand that okay. It's getting into graphs that I start to, I wasn't very good with, so that's something that personal learning eventually I want to get into. So, but yeah, I think, let's see. I think that's all I wanted to talk about for AI. I did do, um, so originally I had a tic-tac-toe game on here, and that's one of my mothballed projects that, yeah, I don't think I'm actually going to go back and finish it. Yeah, and then graphs you get into, like the travelers, algorithms, Dijkstra's. Do you have to visit each one, or are you just looking for the shortest path? Or, yeah, BFS versus DFS, breadth versus depth, yeah, all that good stuff. Stuff that I didn't familiarize as much as I wanted to back in school, but I don't know. And then even this, like, this is all referring to that very basic first concept of AI, where you're just making the computer do like a humanistic thing. So, this might be a little overkill. But as far as preparing for an actual interview, like this is where I would focus. Like, got some videos. Oh, wait. And these are my notes. I didn't terminate that link. Or I did, but there we go. So that. And there we go. So, I'll get in and do some more notes with this, but basically, that's some good AI in a nutshell. Let's see. So, actually, there's a whole list of jumps. Let me see. So, I am discussing just the possibility of one of several different things. Yeah, that would be good to know what to be preparing for, but the list is. I mean, actually, let me open it in this one. Let's see. On that. Mm. Oh, whoops. It's under this. Here we go. So it's software engineer for AI. Uh, there's a ton. There's a bunch of different positions. Health. Yeah. So I think. Yeah. Yeah, and like one of my next steps is to get into, I think it's Jupyter, and more into like data science, data analysis, because in a way that's doing a lot of the similar concepts to machine learning. Like you're taking a bunch of information and then drawing conclusions from it, and then it's on you to kind of tweak what you're going to, or like how you would use that information or how you would classify it. So, but as far as I'm thinking, these are all programming. So this would be, how would I classify? Well, for like language processing, for an example, I would be doing all these different things. And I guess this kind of ties into any industry because you'll get customer feedback, for just about any business you do. And if you wanted to automate like a response system or even a sorting system for those communications, you would use AI to learn, okay, this is probably a bad and this is probably a good, and then this is a gray area. I'm not too sure. I would need a human to interact with. So then the software engineering on the backside of that would be um, like adding synonyms to words. If we go back to this part, labeling them as verbs and nouns, but then this part, all the different forms, which is what I struggle in Spanish with horribly. But um, yeah, run, ran, running, all the different forms it could be. That's my best guess. I mean, as far as what kind of programming it would be. I mean, and then once you have those figured out, it's just a matter of tweaking them. Whereas if this was for like a gaming company, I would say it'd be more like the coding game things, which I've actually done a few more of those. Let's see, I'm working on War. I've got horse racing. This is a nightmare. I've got most of this commented out, but here's my three different types of logic as far as horse racing goes. Let's see. I love that it saves this for you. It's not going to crash things. Alright, so I have three different algorithms for this puzzle alone. And actually, can you see it? Let's see, can we move it over there? There we go. So, I've got three different possible algorithms. Two of them and the accompanying variables are commented out, where I have, let's see, count, inner count, and it's just basically analyzing. And this is an optimization problem. I actually have this puzzle completed three different ways. I've got three different algorithms that all work for the first two, but then when you get into many horses, let's see, let it load. Each one of these, you're finding the smallest difference. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of built-in ways, but in analyzing these, I basically hard-coded it to say, if you encounter one with a distance of 1, then break the loop. We already got it. But I think this one, 47. So I would need to have it look for, that. So that doesn't work for scalability and optimization. It's looking for 47. So, if you've got it looking for a 1 instantly breakout, you don't want to instantly break out when you hit a 47 though, because there could be a 46 or even a 1. There could be something much smaller. So this, you almost have to search the entire list. So this would be like the worst case situation, thinking about sorting algorithms and big O notation. You've got the best case and the worst case. Best case, it's already sorted. Worst case, it's completely sorted backwards to where you have to adjust every single one and then everything in between. This is worst case because you have to scan the entire list and be like, okay, I haven't found a 1. Is there a 2? Is there a 3? And once you've scanned the entire list, then you would know that your lowest is a 47 because I keep track of the min throughout the entire reading of the list. So, anyways, I'm close to finishing that. I think what I might do is just look up an easier way to analyze a list, because that's why it's timing out. It's analyzing a massive list and then checking. Yeah. Or if we go to, let's go back. Another one that I was working on before is, oh no, come on. Go this way. So, whereas War, that's a lot more straightforward AI because you're literally recreating the game War, where you play two people, deck of cards, 2 is the lowest, ace is the highest. One person, or each of you lays down the card. Whoever wins takes the cards. If it's a tie, then you lay the 3 cards face down, and then you do another war. And then if that's a tie, then you lay 3 more cards. And that's where I'm at right now. I've got it to where it tells the winner. It just doesn't take into account when you get into an actual battle with the 3 cards. And that, I know how to do it in theory, and I've worked through it in my head. It's just a matter of actually doing it, playing with the indices, getting it to work correctly. And then once you get to there, then you need to continue to program it to where, let's say we get, three, four, or even five of the same cards. And by this time, we've got so many wars out. Did we reach past the size of the array? And I think that's where I'm at right now. Is I'm already worrying about the corner case of what if we get a same one and there's only two cards left in the deck? Like, okay, we can't just hard code the next three because that would break it. We would need to do next three if possible, or the next two if possible, or the next one, or however. So, but yeah, so a coding game is pretty much one of the best things you can do for artificial intelligence. Just pull up Code Wars. Sorry. And throw that up there because there's several puzzles in there as well. There we go. So if we go back to all the little challenges that I have done, all these different concepts. A lot of easy ones, you'll notice. I did all the low-hanging fruit that I could. But anyways, there's some similar ones in here. And the reason I bring this up is because I actually had a Sudoku. It might take a while to find it here. But one of the coding games, there's actually a... Is this it? No. Where do I see the ones that I've done? Like it pops up right at the beginning. I'm working on all of these. Ugh, this one's kind of frustrating. But let's see. Yeah, actually, yeah. Let's look at Code Wars. Well, we could do coding game too. Coding game's good. Code Wars. Code Wars, you just do a bunch of challenges. So how you do that? Like you would look at. Oh man, did they change this? What's going on? They changed this. Okay, this is what I was looking for. Um, Yeah, Code Wars is good. You start off with the multiply, and that's so. If we were to actually scroll down to the very beginning, you'd see that. But yeah, yep, to open an account, you have to do it as that's just to get in. But any of these problems, so if we look at, I don't know, this one, you can actually change the language here. So it'll tell you if it has it in C++. I just did all of these are in Python. But one of the things that I wanted to do every time I apply for a job that wants like a C++ or a Java, it makes me want to go back and do all of these challenges again in another language. Because basically, once you know one language, I feel like you can kind of know all the others mostly. But you can always see which language they have, and I think you can even filter it. So if we go back, see, this is weird. This is new. This wasn't like this before. So if you go back, you can sort by my languages or C++. So let's go ahead and see what they have. And then you can filter down on complication. Yeah. Yeah, Code Wars is really awesome. They got a lot of that. Of course, you can also do the same with code and game too. So if we look at these, yeah, let's go back into horse racing. I believe you can toggle it in here as well. Yeah, see this? You can drop down to whatever language you want, and they support a lot of stuff. C++ is definitely in there. Um, for April Fools, they added a satirical one. So, but yeah, you can do everything Visual Basic, which is actually, and I laugh at that because my first job was a software developer job in Visual Basic. I had never seen it before. I was just, let's see, where do I start? I'm on the homepage. You talking for coding game or? So our homes are going to be different. Once you're logged in, once you create an account, you'll have stuff like this. And then you'll have a map like this. So like a road map. And I've been doing a lot of Clash of Code. That's what that red line is. And actually, my next step is to do Clash. Oh, Code Wars? Okay, so we'll go there. Yeah, so that's why they changed this. So let's go. I want to say practice. It's supposed to be kata. That's what they call the challenges, or kata. Um, kata. I think practice is kata. Freestyle sparring. Let's see what that is. Welcome to Kumite. Okay, so yeah, so this is what this is. I've heard of Kumite. I guess this is where you go head to head. So to answer your question though, you go over here and then go to practice. So, and then that's where the kata are. And then the way that Code Wars works is you start off as a level 8 and then you work your way down. So these are the white belts, you could consider them, then the orange belts, then the blue belts, and then the purple belts. And I myself am almost a second degree purple or blue belt. But, and that's again because I did like 300 easy ones. I think I've only done three or four of the blue ones. I haven't even done any of the three blue. I've only done like three or four of these ones. But, and again, that's all in Python. Mm. But the cool thing with Code Wars, so if you click into one of these, we'll take one of these easy ones, and then you can actually look at other people's solutions. So if you find something like that you just absolutely cannot figure out and it's just driving you nuts, you can actually click the solutions and look at what other people have done. And so now coding game, they let you do that as well, but they make it harder. I think you have to actually complete the puzzle before you can see other people's solutions. At least this is what, from what I understand, looking at what other people talk about on there. But coding game is very similar. Like they have it separated out to practice. That's why this makes sense. So if you go to training and then practice is the kata, then kumite would be the sparring, and so the coding game equivalent to that would be like the code golf, how they do. Well, really, they spar in three different ways, and that's the clashes that I do. So you got the shortest, you got the reverse mode, and then you've got the speed. So, yeah. And job stuff. That's actually how I got into. So Code Wars, I found when I was doing my boot camp in cybersecurity, they wanted us to practice our Python with Code Wars, and then one of my colleagues who I don't even know what he does now. I mean, he does like three different jobs down in Denver, but one of them is IT security, and then the other one is like, you know, anyways, he was suggesting coding game. So, and Code Wars. He said basically if you can make yourself a blue belt on Code Wars, software or recruiters tend to fancy that over. Um, and then coding game, I need to do a lot with that. That's like, well, I did spend a lot of time getting to here. So if we go back to the profile, you can even see I'm that close, like almost a quarter of the way. And every time I get a white one, it barely moves just a tiny tick. So now I've got a couple blue ones that I'm working on. But yeah, and I have personally 360 that I've done on there. So they're both fun though. I mean, this one, like, it does take a little bit. So if you look at well, yeah, I guess you just try it out. Play around with it. There's a learning curve with all of these tools as far as how do I use variables? How do I tell what they're actually even looking for? That's been my biggest hurdle for coding game is like most of the time it's just wanting you to print something out and then it takes your printed output and works with it. And most of the time I'm thinking I need to save the variable and then wait, how am I accessing this variable? And then I'll read the directions and it'll say, no, you're just supposed to print out this word if this, else print this, stuff like that. So, a lot harder to rank up in Code Wars, but definitely worth it. I think I've done maybe two JavaScript ones and maybe one Java one. So, yeah, and then you got here. I'm almost to the end of clashing. I got like 3 nodes left until I've done everything clashing wise. So, other stuff, not so much. So, actually, hmm. Let's see. So I'm thinking, trying to figure out. Oh wait, that's QA. So I'll need to clean this up a bit, but as far as an idea for an interview, I think I've got plenty of material. I do need to go back and look at this again because I'm trying to think. Like already, as far as language processing, there's that issue I mentioned with the Arabic where it's kind of backwards to what I'm used to from right to left. So like this would be like the syntax, the rules, and order of the text. Like what are the does it go left to right or right to left? I'm guessing. And then semantic, the meaning. Okay, what does it actually mean? What is like on paper? What are the words actually translating to? Then you got pragmatics. What are the goals of the text? So what's the purpose? So filter through the language, and again, that would be really cool with a political thing. So take a bunch of stuff and then what's the goal of this? What are they really trying to do? So something to kind of that I think would be interesting using AI for. Let's see. And then you got what a lot of people consider AI, and that's where we did the Windward competition at CSU, and we played a game. I forget what it was, but it was like Scrabble, but not. It was like Scrabble, but with like businesses and stocks and shares and stuff like that. Oh. But I still have this up for kind of a way to think about what would I want to consider if I was making a computer game, basically, if I wanted to make a tic tac toe game. These are all the different things that you would think about, or you should think about if you were trying to make a good game. So, and eventually, I don't know, and that's mostly like all coding games about is basically artificial intelligence challenges, like all of these horse racing duels. Oh, that's not gonna crash the stream. Hope I don't get it chopped. It chopped the other day into two streams. Let's see. Yeah, and then you can see who in the community has already done this and stuff like that. But if you go to practice, although what you might think of, Chad, if you're still here, you might look into making a playground for C++. I'm about to put mine out, but I'm still struggling with just running it. And like when you brought up GitHub earlier, these are linked to the GitHub. So the files that I edit on Tech.io or GitHub, like I have them here, or I also have them here on their Tech.io site. They actually the changes reflect, so they're linked. I guess you could say like they're connected. So eventually, let's see which one this is one close to done. But again, I'm going to sneak in more advanced concepts as I go. It's still an ongoing project. But as far as like getting someone to start it off with, I mean, you could totally do a C++ one. It's like mine is right here, and it is far from done. I just have the stubs basically. That's all I've done so far. I don't even have a. I've copied the intro over and changed it. So yeah, and that's coding game. So yeah, you got Code Wars for practice and theory, coding game for build your own stuff and all that good stuff. For now though, I think I am gonna call that and upload it to the YouTubes in the AI section, and then go do some studying because I've got a lot of videos to watch. Already, I'm gonna go back and watch this one because this is where she explains all the language processing one. And again, this link is I put both of the links right next to killer robots and stuff. Um, and I guess that's why I use the CodePen site so I can take notes and then leave links for others to check out too. GitHub is cool. It's nifty, but as far as like for the user interface or the usability of non-technical people, that might not they might prefer to go somewhere like this where they can just bounce around. Whereas if it in a GitHub, well, I guess I could do that with the GitHub too. I guess that depends on how well I make it. So, but I am going to check that out. I appreciate the heads up on that. And especially recently, I've seen, what was it, the Python thing from the Python page of this. Actually, can we go back? No, I haven't fixed that yet. I still have a long ways to go with that. But anyways, if you go to the Python section of my code pen, well, we can go there. Let's see what I'm talking about. There's a, yeah, let's go back. So go to Python. Yeah, so we can see an example of a well done GitHub. Let's see, so there's the playground that I just made, there's the replit with the files, there's the YouTube, and then here. More friendly presentation. There we go. So yeah, this looks, I think you can even do it in dark theme. Yeah. But this is made with GitHub, so switch to dark theme. Nice. So this is just what I have a link to. Like, technically, I mean, to support this person, they sell the PDF, but just as far as a reference, it's on my list of that and Sublime Text 3. I'm going to pay for that eventually, but again, once I have jobs. Yeah, did you do... So the whole reverse string, if you go back to here, it's in the very first one. That's what, oh jeez, it's on data structure, so I gotta fix that. Oh crud. Wait a minute. Is it just because I left it here? Oh wow, I gotta remember that. So anyways, the reverse string, it's harder to do in C++ for sure, but... Oh. Oh, hold on. One sec. But yeah, we got the reverse string. That's what I use as the example, but hold on, I gotta close something. But yeah, that's actually what I have for the example of the Python, is how to reverse a string. It's super easy in Python. Whereas C++, I imagine you took it and then constructed a new string backwards, basically, like pulling the indices from the last one and then building your new reverse string. In fact, something else I want to put in these playgrounds is a palindrome checker algorithm. Let's see. Yeah, swap. Huh, okay. That's one way to go about it. Yeah, and then another way would be like, uh, for, I don't even know what it is, size, let's see. Well, yeah, that's a way to go about it, but a palindrome checker is always useful as far as when someone's first learning a language, being able to reverse a string and then check its equality. It's a good concept to know. But I do have a note that I want to put a palindrome checker in all the playgrounds. But for now, I'm going into an issue. Let's see. Basically, in order to get this functionality of this playground, it's using a Docker and it's using the different runners, like from this list. And this is the one for C++. So, as someone who knows C++, you could probably appreciate this. The make files, the biggest headache ever. So, And right now I'm running into this problem. It says, use this Docker or this runner by putting this in your markup file. Then it goes into a testing framework. And I don't know. Then I start to get all confused and yeah. But then it's just this one little line. And this runs the make file in the markdown. Yeah, anyways. So if you do get to this point, and if you figure out C++, you should let me know as far as making a playground. Because that's all that's stopping me from having something like this. Or, well, this, I don't have the actual part where you can run the code and try it out for yourself. I just have, oh, so. Oh, but anyways, I think I'm going to sign off and then upload this to the artificial intelligence. I might pop back on a little later, but yeah, let me know how far you get on the Code Wars. And then, because it's really fun. It's really addicting. They have a lot of really cool challenges. You should check out Sudoku Solver. In fact, let's see if I can find it. And then so if you search, just do Sudoku. See if it pops up. Yep, Sudoku Solution Validator. So if you do that, that's actually a puzzle on Coding Game as well, where you validate a Sudoku solution. And it's really awesome, really fun. I ran into a problem where I forgot the third condition of a Sudoku. You can't win unless each of the subgrids have all of the 1 through 9, and I was failing. And one of the test cases is where they give you one. It's like 1 through 9, and then 2 through 1, and then all of that. It's like a rotating text. And now that I think about it, there's actually a problem on here as well, where you do that. You do the rotating text where you print out a line of a string, and then the next line you print out the string but just rotated by 1, and then you print out the next line, and it continues until you've made it all the way back to the original string. So kind of like marquee type text. So, but yeah, check out this one. This one's really fun. Sudoku Solution Validator. Yeah, I don't think it doesn't have my solution on here, but, and it wouldn't even matter because if you're doing this in C++, Python, but the concept, it's like make sure you won. Is this a valid win? It's a validator. So, really fun challenge. And again, like I said, it's on Coding Game too. So if you figure it out here, then you can put it on the Coding Game too and get points for both sites. So, but anyways, yeah, I'm gonna go do a little more preparation. I might do some clashing. I don't know, but yeah, for now that's a pretty decent synopsis for AI, I guess. I don't know. Anyone really wanting to get into AI, like I have in here, if you just go to Allie's page. She explains AI very well. Let's see, so if we go back, very first link. She is the head of AI for Amazon Web Services. So, and she does very awesome YouTube videos. You've got 8 kata, nice. So you only have a little to catch up to me. I've got 1,320. So, but you get two points for every level 8 and level 7 kata, I believe, and then it goes up to 4 points for a level 5 and a level 6. So if you go back to here, yeah, it's like 2 points, 4 points, 6 or 8 points. Or no, I think it's even better than that. So I think you get like 6 or 8 points for these. So this might be 2 points and then 4 points. I don't know. And then eventually I think it even adjusts. Like once you start ranking up, these are worth even less and less, and then you have to do the harder challenges. So, but yeah, I've gotten 1,332 points based on 360 challenges, and out of those 360 challenges, only about 3 or 4 are blue. Everything else is either a yellow or orange or the white. Yeah, well, and that's the other thing too. Like C++ as a language is fundamentally a lot harder than Python, and that's one of the things. Like, yeah, but you don't deal with much file I/O objects or any of the more complex concepts. It's more Yeah. Well, and some of them I don't think are even ranked that well, to be honest. Like I think they're um, like some of the sixes and fives I've done could have been sevens or eights, and vice versa. I've done some sevens or eights that technically could have been more harder, like the oranges or the yellows, whatever this is. But yeah, in fact, we can actually see my progress. Kata, I have completed level 4. These three. So, and I would recommend all three of these. These were really fun. Strip comments was kind of confusing because they throw in some weird corner cases. This one, human readable duration format, that one was a nightmare for me, and I can't even imagine for C++ because you've got, yeah, it's, so you might wait to do that one, but basically you're getting, you get seconds, and then you convert it into minutes, hours, days, years, and that's just part of it. Like the first half is converting it down to getting all the different units of time and like how many of each one you have, and then you have to print it out and you have to format the output. And before I realized that you could just do some control flow conditionals to format whether you put a comma or you use the plural or the singular version of the word, because again that's another corner case which is a pain. You know, you can't say I have 1 hours. It's like no, I have 1 hour. So when I first tried this, I ended up with at least like 10 or 15 pages, like entire screen lengths of code, because I was doing so many if else statements where I was like, if there's 1 hour, print hour. If there's more than 1 hour, print hours. And so, and they test every single corner case in this one. But they do C++, so you could do that. You could do all of them. Nope, not strip comments. It looks like it doesn't support C++, but you can definitely do the Sudoku one, the human readable, and yeah. So, let's see. Well, and something else, advice for Code Wars: if you do get stuck on something, just bail and go find something else because they've got so many. I mean, I was knocking out like a good like 10 or 20 a day of the easy ones and then just doing that. Like, if I could do it, cool. If I could do it in a few minutes, I would go ahead and do it. And then if it took more than a few minutes, I'd just jump out and then do a different one and then kind of go back and pick over them. But yeah, and I've looked at a lot of the fours and the threes. Like I could do them. Like one of the ones I'm working on right now is the snafus. So if we change this back to all, but we're still on the level 4. Yeah, you've got binary search trees or sort binary trees. You've got just all sorts of stuff. But snafus is one that I'm close to figuring out. Let's see if I can find that. I mean, I suppose I could just search snafus. Yeah, let's do that. Because this one's not super complicated. Snafus. There we go. The snafu solver is another really good one that you might check out. Because this one, essentially, you've got something, if you think of a six-sided die, and then you flatten it to where it becomes like a cross shape of like the top side, left, right, middle, bottom, and then back. You know, kind of how like the T would wrap around and make that cube again. You have to figure out or determine which side fits together. And you think about like a zipper. So if there's a space, it's okay. If there's an X, there's okay. But if there's an X and an X, it's not okay. Or a space and a space, it's not okay. So, and there's only one solution. Like each side will only have a corresponding other 4 sides that match. And so my biggest thing was, and I haven't done Code Wars for a good few weeks now. I gave up. I was off onto the Code War or coding game, but yeah. So, anyways, this is a good one. But for now, I think I'm gonna go and do some more prep for this interview. But I might be on later. So appreciate you stopping by, Chad, and yeah, good luck with Code Wars. Let me know how you do, and then you can even follow me on here and stuff too. But again, like I said, I'm not very active on this. I'm more doing the coding game stuff now. Like this is what I've been obsessing over is doing these playgrounds. So and the challenges. Then again, I'm only a level 9. Once I do my 500 clashes, I might even jump up to like a level 11. Like it's worth like 250 points, I think. So I don't know, or maybe that would be almost a level. Maybe it's I don't know how it works, but anyways, once I do another 130 clashes, I've already done 400 or 370 clashes. Then I'll get that badge, and then I'll get the points. So, anyways, hope this video helps. And for any questions, hit me up on the socials. Other than that, I will be around. Oh, I'm sure I'll be around in and out a lot this week and next week. So, all right, thanks for stopping by, and I will see you all in the next one. See you guys later.